Bienvenue and welcome. I know Pagoda is probably going to stab me with a pocket knife for being so surprised, but what an artistic leap forward. Wes Anderson feels like a completely assured director from the opening frame. Utilizing Alec Baldwin voiceover and Mutato Musica Orchestra's cover of Hey Jude, he succeeds in showing us the fears and motivations of the main cast while being gut-punchingly emotional and, most importantly, extremely funny. In short, the Royal Tenenbaums prologue blows the Rushmore opening montage out of the water. It's such a strong opening that I was disappointed when the story loses steam when it has to reintroduce its characters 22 years later. For all its stylistic strengths, the movie sags a bit beneath the weight of its ensemble, instead of flying unburdened into the sky like Mordecai the Falcon. Did I mention how much I love the opening montage? Gene Hackman is fantastic as the vainglorious patriarch of the Tenenbaum family, even having a name that befits the idea of his own self-worth, Royal. I almost wish that Anderson would have focused more on him as the main character trying to reconnect with his estranged family instead of spinning so many emotionally fraught plates in the air. But it's another bit of casting that probably brought the most eyeballs to the Royal Tenenbaums. He'd just finished taking a lie detector test for De Niro and flashing an unsuspecting world blue steel, so Ben Stiller was the perfect actor to help Anderson's third feature permeate pop culture. Similar to James Caan appearing in Bottle Rocket, or Bill Murray showing up for Rushmore, having early 2000s era Ben Stiller in your movie lends it some comedic credibility. Which is great, because Anderson is clearly ready for the scrutiny. He gives his insanely talented cast very fun lines of dialogue. Premium examples include,
"Well, everyone knows Custer died at Little Bighorn. What this book presupposes is, maybe he didn't?"
Come on, let's shag ass. I don't think you're an asshole, Royal. I just think you're kind of a son of a bitch.
I do think that a packed ensemble has the side effect of some pretty one-note characters. Without having the screen time to focus on strong core characters like Dignan and Max Fisher, some of the Tenenbaums are thinly sketched. Gwyneth Paltrow's Margot is a terrific example. Anderson presents her mostly as an object for characters to yearn for, and since the story keeps her at a distance viewed only by the men in her life, she remains a cipher. If you peel back a single layer of malaise, there's not much underneath. But I suppose you could make a similar case for both Richie and Chaz, since the theme in the movie is squandered potential. All the Tenenbaum children are crystallized at a specific point in their youth when they experienced the trauma of their parents' divorce. All three wear versions of what they wore as children, except now they're withered husks on the vine. Without growth, they are filled with anxiety, depression, and BB pellets. But Royal Tenenbaum, now that's a character. Because Gene Hackman has now retired from acting, this stands as his last great performance, and he brings such joy and gravitas to a role I really can't see being played by anyone else. The sequence of him spending time with his grandsons Ari and Uzi is my absolute favorite sequence in the film, partly because of the acting, camera work, and writing, but mostly because of Paul Simon. Without me and Julio down by the schoolyard, I can't imagine the scene would have nearly the same effect. But at its core, Royal Tenenbaums is a drama. The Margot-Richie relationship is devastating. Richie is constantly drinking Bloody Marys in the movie, as if his life is a perpetual hangover, and Margot oozes depression throughout. The only time either character feels warmth or solace is when they're with each other. The darkest scene in the movie, where Richie shaves his hair and attempts suicide, is tonally distinct and shot underneath a blinking fluorescent light. Compare that lighting to the tent scene, which has a warm, inviting golden hue because of the light shining through the tent's canvas. It's a brief moment of happiness where neither character has to be secretly in love with the other. But back to the director who, in this movie, has a surprising amount of world building. The cutaways, flashbacks, and props certainly lend themselves to it. For instance, I noticed that the Charlie Rose-esque character played by Larry Pine that interviews Eli Cash shows up later in the movie in a sleazily prescient shot, feeling up Margot in her background file. Anderson populates his world with memorable characters and eccentric props. The Tenenbaum house on Archer Avenue is a world-building treasure trove. The ever-present Dalmatian mice in the paintings of Margot drawn by Richie, and in real life created by Wes's brother Eric Chase Anderson, create such a vivid universe that it's no wonder such a sprawling, talented cast agreed to work on the movie for scale. In Matt Zoller Seitz's book, The Wes Anderson Collection, the director elaborates on his handmade approach to the film's production design. I worked with Eric, my brother, before we started the movie, and he drew everything for the house. We had everything kind of done, and I gave the work to David Wasco and Sandy Wasco, the production designers, and they knew. They had a lot of information that wasn't just my notes, they had pictures of all these things. Eric did very good pictures. Bottle Rocket and Rushmore are two early efforts where Anderson is still struggling to get his complete vision translated to screen. There's budget limitations, sure, but more than that, his first two movies still take place in a reality partially recognizable as our own. The Royal Tenenbaums is Anderson's first feature that exists entirely in a reality of the director's own making. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly what Anderson's filmic perspective is, but to say that it's melancholy mixed with a mischievous sense of wonder wouldn't be too far off. Film history looks on the Royal Tenenbaums as Wes Anderson's first big box office success. It made a little over $70 million on a $20 million budget, thus guaranteeing that he gets to make at least a couple more movies. It's also his first movie to earn an Oscar nomination for Best Original Screenplay. At the time of this video's publication, he still never won an Oscar, but I'll save my frustration on that front for a later entry detailing the misadventures of a certain hotel concierge and his lobby boy. The point is, Tenenbaums is Wes Anderson's first film that's both a financial and critical success. The movie perfectly illustrates how well families don't communicate with each other, and it's incredibly fun to get lost in the film's production design. Although I'd argue he's assembled a talented cast for some less than three-dimensional roles, for the first time Anderson is able to put exactly what he's thinking onto the screen. He's completely found his artistic voice. For our next feature, put on some scuba gear and connect with some long-lost family members because we're getting ready to set sail and live the life aquatic with Steve Zissou. And if you'd like more videos about directors both living and deceased, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on this channel. And, as always, the Sarris wheel spins on.